The universe has a way of balancing itself. Every action has a consequence, and no one, not even your worst enemies, can escape the weight of their own choices. Those who try to throw thorns in your path soon find themselves walking barefoot on the road they paved with their own spite. Life doesn't let injustice slide for long. The same people who plotted against you, doubted you, and waited for your downfall are now haunted not by you, but by the karmic forces they unleashed upon themselves. They laughed when you struggled, but now they flinch at the sight of your success. And that's the irony, isn't it? The harder they tried to break you, the more they shattered themselves. Like a snake that bites its own tail, their hatred became their own poison. You, the chosen one, were never meant to stay down. Every setback they created only set you up for something greater. While they schemed in the shadows, the universe worked in your favor, aligning everything perfectly for your rise. And now they're watching in disbelief, trapped in their own bitterness, unable to escape the reality that your success is their biggest failure. Here's what haunts them the most: the power you carry, the presence you own, the way you exist without their approval. It keeps them up at night, knowing they couldn't stop you, that everything they did only made you stronger. They wanted to see you struggle, but now they struggle with the thought that they never mattered in your story. Let them watch, let them wonder, and while they sit in confusion, make sure you keep rising. Like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned, because your journey is just getting started. The best revenge? Living a life they can never touch. Number 1. Stop underestimating your absence. Your departure leaves a void they can't fill. When you walked away, you didn't just leave, you shattered the illusion they built around themselves. It wasn't just your presence that disappeared. It was the gravity you carried, the force that held things together without them even realizing it. Now, everything feels off. Conversations feel empty, laughter feels forced, and the air itself carries a weight they can't shake. They thought they had control, but the moment you stepped away, reality hit them like a wrecking ball. And here's the brutal truth. It's not just you they miss. It's the version of themselves that only existed when you were around. You were the spark that ignited their confidence, the energy that made things exciting, the silent force that elevated everything. Without you, the room is dim, the vibe is dead, and they're stuck trying to figure out why everything suddenly feels hollow. They tell themselves they've moved on, that they don't care, but their restless mind says otherwise. You live in the spaces they can't fill, in the moments they wish they could relive, in the silence they never expected to be so deafening. And that's the thing about people who take you for granted. They don't realize what you truly were until you're gone. They underestimated your presence, dismissed your energy as replaceable, assumed you'd always be there. Now, they're left staring at the empty chair you once occupied, searching for someone who can bring what you effortlessly did. But there's no replacement for you. They can try to mimic the conversations, force the connections, fake the excitement, but deep down, they know. Nothing feels the same. What tortures them isn't just the absence, it's the unspoken realization that they had something rare and let it slip through their fingers. And now, there's no way back. That's the sting that lingers, not just missing you, but missing what they could have been with you, still in their life. The what-ifs claw at them, the regrets replay like a broken record, and every attempt to erase the memories only makes them stronger. And the most ironic part? You didn't do this to them. You never had to lift a finger. No revenge, no grand exit, no final words. You simply chose yourself, and that alone was enough to shake their entire world. Because people can ignore your presence, but they can't ignore the impact of your absence. The energy shift is undeniable. You didn't need to prove your worth, they felt it the moment you were no longer there. This is the power of walking away with quiet confidence, not seeking validation, not explaining yourself, just leaving them with the emptiness they created for themselves. Let them wrestle with their own ghosts. Let them search for a replacement they'll never find. And while they struggle to fill the void, you continue moving forward, untouched, unstoppable, and unforgettable. Number 2, never leave in weakness. Exit with power and let silence do the damage. They thought you'd lash out, beg, or crumble under the weight of their games, but you didn't. You walked away with the kind of unshakable confidence that left them stunned. No warnings, no grand speeches, just pure, silent execution. And that's what's driving them crazy, because people expect drama when they've wronged you. They expect you to fight for closure, to demand answers, to prove your worth. But you didn't give them that satisfaction. You removed yourself and left them drowning in their own confusion. Now they're stuck, replaying every conversation, analyzing every little detail, looking for a sign they missed some indication of when you decided they weren't worth your time anymore. But that's the part that eats at them the most. You didn't need to prove a point. You just left. That silence, it's louder than any words you could have said. It echoes in their mind, turning every memory into an unanswered question they'll never solve. And here's the kicker. Your exit wasn't about them. It was about you reclaiming control. Most people leave in anger or desperation, hoping for some kind of reaction. But you didn't. You weren't trying to teach them a lesson or get them to chase you. You left because you outgrew the situation, because you refused to be manipulated, because you knew your worth. That's why it hurts them so much. They were counting on your emotions to keep you tied down, but instead, you left them in a game they can't play anymore. They wanted to see you shattered. They wanted a messy ending, something they could use to convince themselves that they still had power over you. Instead, you flipped the script. You left like a boss, and now they're the ones dealing with the wreckage of their own choices. The control they thought they had, gone. The upper hand they believed was theirs. It slipped through their fingers the second you walked away. And while they stay up at night, wondering why you didn't fight to stay, you're already 10 steps ahead, thriving, evolving, and never looking back. That's not just walking away, that's domination. Number 3, don't beg for attention. Your absence will haunt them more than your presence ever could. Your absence didn't just leave a void, it left a storm in their mind, a chaos they can't control. The moment you walked away, something shifted, and no matter how much they try to act unbothered, the silence screams louder than words ever could. You weren't just another person in their life, you were the force that made things feel alive, the energy that kept the fire burning. Now, without you, the room feels colder, the conversations lack depth, and their world seems a little dimmer. They expected closure, expected you to break, to explain, to justify, but you did the unthinkable. You left them with nothing but questions, and that's the kind of mystery that haunts people forever. Every memory, every last interaction replays in their mind like a broken tape. But no matter how many times they rewind the story, they'll never get the answers they crave. They thought they had you figured out, but now they realize they never knew you at all. And that realization stings worse than any goodbye ever could. The beauty of being a chosen one is this: you don't need to announce your worth. You don't need to prove a point. Your absence alone is enough to make people realize what they lost. It's in the way the air feels heavier, in the way laughter sounds forced, in the way nothing quite clicks the same way it used to. They don't just miss you, they miss the way they felt in your presence, the version of themselves that only existed because of you. And now, that version is gone, leaving them to wrestle with the dull, colorless reality of life without you. And the worst part, they will never know the full story. Maybe you saw through them, maybe you sensed something off. Maybe you were always 10 steps ahead while they were busy playing games. They're stuck in an endless cycle of overthinking while you've already moved on. That's the true power of your silence. It doesn't just make them question the past, it makes them question themselves. Let them stay up all night, lost in regret. You don't need to speak to be unforgettable. Your silence is the loudest reminder of the power they underestimated. Number 4. Avoid giving closure. Leave them drowning in unfinished business. You didn't just walk away, you left behind a storm of unfinished business, and now they're drowning in it. They thought they had all the time in the world to play their little games, to test your patience, to see how much you could take. But the moment you walked away, their reality shattered. The words they held back, the apologies they never gave, the chances they let slip. They're all haunting them now, replaying in their heads like a song they can't turn off. They stay up at night, running through every scenario, searching for the moment they could have changed the outcome. But there's no answer, no do-over, no way to fix what's already broken. And that's the part that eats them alive, the fact that you chose the ending, and they had no say in it. You left them standing in a story without a conclusion, trapped in a loop of what-ifs that will never be resolved. And here's the twist. You didn't have to do anything dramatic. You didn't need a long speech, a final confrontation, or a grand exit. You just walked away. No explanation, no closure, just silence. And that silence, it's louder than any words you could have said. It forces them to face their own reflection, to confront their mistakes, to wrestle with the reality that they'll never know what could have been if they had valued you while you were still there. That's the price they pay for underestimating you. People like them always think they have the upper hand until they realize they were playing checkers while you were playing chess. They were waiting for another chance, another conversation, another round. But you flipped the script. You were the final chapter, and they never saw it coming. And now they're stuck. They won't admit it, but you're still in their head, living rent-free. They'll try to move on, pretend it doesn't bother them, act like they don't care. But deep down, they know the truth. They lost something they can't replace. And that loss? It's forever. That's the power of a chosen one. When you leave, you don't just exit, you create a void that can never be filled. Number 5. Escape before they expect it. Master the perfect exit that shakes their world. Timing is everything, and you mastered the exit like a chosen one. You didn't just leave, you left at the exact moment when they thought they had you figured out. While they were still comfortable, still assuming they had time to play their games, you made your move. No warnings, no slow fade, just a clean, sharp cut that hit harder than they ever expected. And that's why they're still stuck, scrambling to make sense of it. You didn't wait until things were falling apart. You didn't wait for them to discard you, to undervalue you, to make you beg for basic respect. No, you left when your presence was still powerful, when your absence would create a vacuum so deep they'd struggle to breathe without you. That's the art of a true exit. Not when it's easy, not when it's expected, but when it delivers maximum impact. They thought they had control. They thought they could decide when the story ended. But you flipped the script. You left when the fire was still burning, while they still believed they could toy with your emotions. And that's exactly why it hurts them the most. There's no closure, no warning, no way to rewrite the past and make it make sense. 1 minute they were sure of you, and the next, boom, you were gone, taking all your power with you. Now they're left drowning in what-ifs and regrets. They overanalyze every moment, searching for clues, obsessing over why you chose that moment to disappear. But that's the thing about chosen ones, you never let anyone predict your next move. You leave when your presence is still a force, when your absence feels like an earthquake. You don't wait to be discarded. You discard them. And that's why they'll never get over it. They weren't ready. They didn't expect it. They thought they were running the game, but you were always 3 steps ahead. Your departure wasn't an act of weakness. It was the ultimate power move. And now, they're left haunted by the moment they lost you, knowing they'll never get that moment back. That's not just walking away. That's mastery. Number 6. Quit explaining yourself. Let the mystery of your departure destroy their peace. You didn't beg for understanding. You didn't explain yourself. You didn't hand them the luxury of closure. And that is what keeps them up at night. See, most people expect a reaction. They expect anger, tears, a final argument, maybe even a long-winded explanation. But you walked away without a word, without giving them anything to hold on to. And that silence, it's louder than any speech you could have given. They wanted a final scene, a last conversation, anything to make sense of it. But instead, you left them in the dark, stuck with the most unbearable question of all. Why? People crave answers. It's in their nature. They can handle rejection. They can deal with conflict. But what they can't handle is uncertainty. And that's exactly what you left them drowning in. Now, their mind is working overtime, piecing together every interaction and dissecting every word, replaying every moment like a broken tape they can't turn off. Did they say something wrong? Did they miss a sign? Did you see something they didn't? The possibilities are endless, and the answers nowhere to be found. That's what makes your silence powerful. Because while they're overthinking, you're thriving. While they're stuck in their mental prison, you've already moved on. You never needed them to understand you. You never needed to convince them of your worth. You just left. And that's what haunts them the most, the realization that they never had control over you in the first place. See, when you're a chosen one, you don't chase. You don't plead. You don't waste energy justifying yourself to people who were never meant to walk your path. You simply step away and let the universe handle the rest. And trust me, the universe has a way of making them feel the weight of your absence. Now, they're trapped in a never-ending loop, trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. They thought they knew you, thought they had the upper hand. But now, they're questioning everything, and that's the real torment. It's not just that they lost you, It's that they don't even understand how or why it happened. And while they sit there haunted by their own thoughts, you're out here thriving, unstoppable, untouchable, and unbothered. That's how a chosen one moves. No explanations, no justifications, just power. Number 7. Stop being their emotional crutch. Walk away and watch their world collapse. The moment you walked away, everything shifted, not just for you, but for them. They thought they were independent, strong, and in control. But your absence exposed the truth they were leaning on you more than they ever admitted. You weren't just a part of their life. You were the foundation holding it all together. And the second you were gone, everything started to crack. Now, the weight of their own insecurities is hitting them like a storm. The reassurance you gave, gone. The silent strength you provided, vanished. The confidence they borrowed from your presence, shattered. They never realized how much they depended on you until they no longer had access to the energy you carried. And now, they're struggling not just with missing you, but with facing themselves without the filter you once provided. Here's the thing about people who take you for granted. They assume you'll always be there. They think they can rely on you endlessly without ever giving back. But when you, the chosen one, decide to remove yourself, it leaves them exposed. It forces them to face a version of themselves they don't like. Because without you, there to uplift, guide, and empower them, they feel lost. Now, they stare at their own reflection, but it's different. It's empty. They once saw themselves through the lens of your belief in them, but now all they see is the void you left behind. And it's not just about losing you, it's about realizing that the strength they thought they had was really yours. They weren't standing on solid ground. They were standing on the support you provided. And now, without you, they're sinking. That's the power of your absence. It forces people to confront their own weaknesses, their own limitations. They thought they had control, but you were the one silently leading all along. And now that you're gone, they're stuck trying to rebuild something they never knew was fragile. But that's no longer your problem. You've moved on, you've leveled up. And while they sit in silence, drowning in regret, you're out there building a life they can never reach. That's the real flex. They depended on you, but you never needed them. Number 8. Flip the power dynamic. Make them realize you never needed them. They thought they had you figured out. In their mind, they were the puppet masters, pulling the strings, keeping you just close enough to maintain their sense of control. You were supposed to be the one who needed them, the one who clung to their validation, the one who feared the silence if they walked away. But you did the unthinkable. You didn't beg, didn't chase, and didn't even flinch. You flipped the entire script in a way they never saw coming. The moment you chose yourself, the balance of power shifted. They had built their confidence on the illusion that you would always be there, always reachable, always invested. But when you walked away without explanation, without a second glance, their world started to crack. It wasn't just about missing you. It was about realizing they had no control, that you were never as attached as they believed. And that's what haunts them the most. Now, they're stuck in a mental spiral, dissecting every interaction, replaying every conversation, desperate to understand where they went wrong. They can't accept the truth that it was never about what they did or didn't do. It was about who you are and what you refuse to tolerate. You were never theirs to control. You were never desperate for their approval. And when you left, you proved it in the most devastating way possible. They used to believe they were holding the cards, that they could come and go from your life as they pleased. But you walked away and flipped the entire deck. Their ego can't handle the fact that they lost someone they thought would always be an option. That realization burns deeper than any goodbye. They wanted to be the one who moved on first, the one who had the final say. Instead, they're the ones stuck, questioning their worth, wondering how someone like you could detach so easily. And that's where true power lies. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need closure. You simply removed yourself. And now, they're left chasing a ghost, haunted by the knowledge that you were never as dependent on them as they were on you. You've moved on, unshaken. They're still stuck, unable to escape the prison of their own regrets. That's what happens when you try to control a chosen one. You end up losing the very thing you thought you had power over. Number 9. Never settle for less. Your absence will prove they settled for mediocrity. Chosen ones. When you walked away, you didn't just leave a gap, you exposed a truth they were too blind to see. They settled for less, for mediocrity, for the comfort of staying stagnant while you were the one pushing forward. And now, your absence isn't just a missing piece in their life, it's a full-blown reality check. Everything around them feels dull now. Conversations are empty. Experiences lack depth. The excitement they once felt is gone. Why? Because you were the source of that spark, and they took it for granted. You didn't just exist in their world, you elevated it. You made things feel bigger, more meaningful, and more alive. And now that you're gone, all that's left is the cold realization that they were never as strong, as interesting, or as confident as they thought. See, that's the thing about people who coast through life on borrowed energy. They think they're self-sufficient until the power source is gone. You were that power source. You challenged them to think beyond their limits, inspired them to do more, and made them feel like they were becoming someone greater. But the truth? It was never really them, it was you. And now they have to face that uncomfortable reality. They look in the mirror, and the person staring back at them feels small. The version of themselves they were, with you, the one that felt powerful, capable, and unstoppable, is nowhere to be found. Because that person was built in the presence of a chosen one. And now, without you, they're left with the raw, unfiltered truth of who they really are. The one who was never enough. The one who mistook your light for their own. And the most painful part, they know they can't go back. They can't reclaim that feeling without you. They thought they could replace your energy, find someone else to fuel them the way you did. But they can't. Because there's only one you. Now, they're stuck, mourning something deeper than your absence. They're mourning the best version of themselves, the one they lost the moment you walked away. Number 10. Stop giving them space in your mind. Make them obsess over the life they lost. They tried to break you. They tried to make you doubt yourself, to keep you trapped in their small, predictable world. But you walked away, and now they're the ones trapped in their own minds, replaying the past, chasing shadows of what could have been. While they lie awake, tormented by the emptiness you left behind, you're out here leveling up. Every move you make, every new success, every moment of growth, it's a reminder that you were never meant to stay small. And that's what haunts them the most. They watch, they wonder, they regret. Not because you're gone, but because you're thriving in ways they never expected. They can't stand the fact that you're untouchable now. You've become something they can't reach, not because you've shut them out, but because you've elevated far beyond their level. You don't play their games, you don't move on their time, you don't live by their rules. Your focus is on something bigger, your future, your purpose, your unstoppable rise. And that truth burns them from the inside out. The harshest reality: they'll never be part of this version of you. They had a chance, but they wasted it. And now, as they sit there, stuck in their own regrets, you're proving with every step that your future is untouchable, unshakable, and completely out of their reach. And the irony? They wanted you to lose, but their obsession with your absence has made them the real losers. While they sit in a cycle of what-ifs, you're too busy winning to even notice. Let them watch. Let them wonder. You are the one who walked away like a boss, and now you're living a life they'll never be able to touch. And that's the brutal truth. Walking away wasn't your loss, it was theirs. They thought they had control, but your silence became their loudest lesson. While they stay trapped in the past, replaying every moment, you're building a future so powerful they'll never catch up. Let them regret. Let them obsess. You are the chosen one, unstoppable, untouchable, and rising higher every day. If this hit deep, like this video, subscribe, and stay locked in for more powerful insights. Your journey isn't over, it's just getting started. Keep rising, keep winning, and never look back.